All right, family, check this out. I wanted to put this out there because I feel like nobody ever talks about this, okay? We often talk about children who grow up in abusive homes where their parents are overly critical, verbally abusive, physically abusive, and they grow up to be, toxic. They need a lot of healing or whatnot, right? But we don't talk about the children who grow up on the other side of that extreme. And we've all seen it. We've all seen these children who grow up in homes where their parents validate every little thing they do. They never tell them they're wrong. They never hold them to be responsible when they're wrong. They never make them accountable when they've done wrong. And they end up growing up to be overly entitled. Their sense of self is overly inflated. They feel like they can do no wrong. And they often end up in relationships, or you see them at work, where if somebody tries to confront them about something, they feel attacked instead of understanding that this is an area for them to grow in. They make relationships very difficult, as they are extremely hard to deal with. You often have to end up apologizing to them after telling them what they've done wrong to you because they can't handle it. They habitual side flippers or point switchers. They know exactly how to play the victim, and they always seem to know how to gaslight you into believing that you did something wrong, or they seem to store up all these things they believe you done wrong. As soon as you confront them about something, instead of getting an accountable person, you get how upset they are with you. And it's because they feel like telling them something that they did wrong is actually an attack on them. This is why people go through what they go through inside their homes with these type of people. And we don't often talk about them as needing to be healed because they didn't grow up being damaged. But that is damage when you think about it, because life is about balance. If you take a garden, of course, a garden in a bad climate where it's riddled with thunderstorms, the tree's gonna grow up crooked and branches gonna be broken. It's not gonna be healthy. But also a place that grows up in complete sunshine with no storms. Nothing ever gets pruned. The weeds never get pulled. They often end up in a bad position as well. We don't talk about that. You see what I'm saying? So I believe life is about balance. No one should be overly critical, and also no one should be overly enabling. You understand? Because it creates people who either don't know how to deal with being accountable, or people who are just extremely hard on themselves, have no sense of purpose, or a very low self-esteem, and both people are really hard to deal with. And both people end up making relationships very difficult. They make friendships very difficult. They're hard to work with. These people are hard to be around. But we only focusing on the people who went through extreme damage in their childhood as needing to be healed. Nah, some people need to be healed from parents who just overly validating. Don't ever tell them nothing that they do wrong. I've seen it too many times, man. Can we talk about that? Tell me if you've ever dealt with someone who grew up in a home where their parents never held them accountable for shit. And you tell me you didn't have similar problems to people who grew up in a toxic home. They end up being very toxic. And a lot of these people use the weaponize online to get that same validation that they used to get from their parents. If they're in a relationship and they can't seem to get their partner to validate them or come off of what they're trying to hold them accountable for, they'll run and take that shit to online because they're seeking somebody to tell them, you okay, you ain't the one that's wrong. They the one that's wrong. It's always this immaturity with them that shows you they can't handle their own personal problems. It has to be something that's made public, or they'll end up going back to their parents, telling them all y'all damn business. And what their parents gonna do? Validate every damn thing they say. They know people don't tell stories straight. They know people don't ever tell their side hardly. But instead of the parents saying, let me hear the whole story, let me sit down with both of y'all, instead those parents gonna do the same damn thing they did when when the child was a child, when their child was a child. Which is validate everything they're saying as if they're telling the story completely straight, and all it does is build up their damn their mind even more to think that you're wrong. If you've ever dealt with this person, man, put it in the comments, because we don't talk about that shit enough. Raising your children like that destroys can destroy their relationships in the future, their business relationships, friendships, and all of that, because nobody wants to deal with a person that can't be responsible for some shit they did. Nobody wants to deal with a person that if you tell them that they did something wrong, they see it as a damn attack. And so they have to some kind of way defend themselves or attack you back when you ain't even trying to hurt them. You just simply trying to tell them something that they did that they can work on. Yo, these people, you can't tell them shit. And it's their parents' fault, I'm telling you, yo. Come on, man, let's talk about this shit in the comments. Let me know what y'all think. Peace.